Captain Tom watched the primitive human ship approach the Council station through his viewing screen. His 4 eyes blinked in sync as he made notes about their vessel's crude design. The humans had only discovered faster-than-light travel 6 months ago, and now here they were, ready for their first meeting with the galactic community. "These humans are quite bold," Tom muttered to himself, observing how their boxy ship maneuvered without any grace. It looked like someone had strapped engines to a metal container and called it a spaceship. As the military observer for the Council, it was his job to assess potential threats from new species. So far, the humans seemed harmless enough. The human ship docked with all the elegance of a drunk space whale. Tom winced as the magnetic clamps engaged with much more force than necessary, causing a slight tremor through the station. He could already hear complaints from the other Council representatives about the humans' lack of refinement. Inside the grand meeting chamber, 12 Council species waited. Some floated in anti-gravity fields, others stood on specialized platforms, and a few remained in their environmental suits. Tom took his place in the observation booth, ready to record everything about humanity's first contact. The human delegation walked in, on 2 legs, breathing normal air. They didn't need special environments or gravity adjustments. Tom noted this as interesting. Adaptable species were always worth watching carefully. "Welcome to the Galactic Council," announced head speaker Max, his translator converting his musical tones into standard galactic speech. "We are pleased to meet the representatives of Earth." The human leader, Admiral Bill, stepped forward. He was wearing what Tom assumed was their formal military dress, a dark blue uniform with shiny metal pieces attached to it. Primitive, but not without a certain dignity. "On behalf of Earth and humanity, we are honored to join this gathering of civilizations," Bill said, smiling. Tom noticed that several Council members shifted uncomfortably at the sight of human teeth. They didn't understand that humans showed them as a sign of friendship, not aggression. Everything was going smoothly until the gift exchange. It was a common tradition. New species would present something representing their culture, and the Council would offer knowledge and technology in return. The humans had brought something they called art. They unveiled their gift, a massive painting of Earth's landscapes, oceans, and cities. It was beautiful in a simple way. But then Representative Joe from the Silicon Collective scanned it and jumped up in alarm. "This gift contains toxic materials," Joe announced, his crystalline form vibrating with concern. "The pigments include lead, cadmium, and other heavy metals." The humans tried to explain that oil paintings were traditional art forms, that the toxic materials were safely bound in the paint, but the damage was done. Several Council members were already backing away, their environmental sensors blaring warnings. "You bring poison into our chambers and call it a gift," demanded Representative Ray, his scaled skin changing to angry red patterns. "Is this how humans show friendship?" Tom watched as the situation spiraled out of control. The humans kept trying to explain, but their translators couldn't keep up with their increasingly emotional states. Their hand gestures, meant to be calming, were interpreted as threatening by several species. Their raised voices, meant to be heard over the chaos, were seen as aggressive. In less than an hour, what should have been a historic meeting of cultures had turned into a diplomatic disaster. The Council chamber emptied quickly, leaving only Tom, the human delegation, and a few brave or curious observers. "Return to your ship," head speaker Max ordered, his usual musical tones now sharp and discordant. "The Council will deliberate on whether humanity is ready for galactic membership." As the humans left, Tom noticed something odd. Admiral Bill didn't look worried or angry. Instead, there was a slight smile on his face, as if everything had gone exactly as expected. Tom made a note to investigate this further. Later, in his private quarters, Tom reviewed the recording of the meeting. He zoomed in on Admiral Bill's face during the chaos. That smile. It wasn't the smile of someone who had just failed at first contact. It was the smile of someone who had just confirmed something they suspected. Tom started writing his preliminary report. Humanity may be more than they appear. Recommend careful observation before any action is taken." He paused, then added, "They seem primitive, but their reactions suggest hidden complexity. Exercise extreme caution." He had no idea how right he was. 3 weeks after the disastrous first contact, Captain Tom found himself orbiting Earth in his cloaked observation vessel. The Council had tasked him with assessing human military capabilities, though most representatives thought it was a waste of time. After all, how dangerous could a species be when they had only just figured out faster-than-light travel? Tom wasn't so sure. Something about the humans bothered him. They were too calm for a species that had just been rejected by the galactic community. Their ships continued their regular patrols. Their broadcasts remained normal. There were no signs of panic or military buildup that usually followed such diplomatic incidents. "Computer, show me the human defense network again," Tom commanded. The holographic display lit up, showing Earth's orbital installations. Their space stations were crude compared to Council standards, mostly rotating wheels made of metal and plastic. Their satellites were primitive, using radio waves and simple optical sensors. Their weapons seemed to be mostly kinetic, missiles and guns, with a few basic energy weapons. "This makes no sense," Tom muttered, his 4 eyes narrowing as he studied the display. "They have to know they're completely outmatched. Why aren't they afraid?" He zoomed in on one of their larger military installations. Human soldiers were loading crates into a ship, but the crates were labeled with strange symbols that his translator couldn't quite figure out. The size and shape were all wrong for weapons or ammunition. Tom's communicator buzzed. It was a message from the Council. Several aggressive species, led by Representative Ray, had convinced the others that humanity needed to be contained before they became a problem. A fleet was being assembled. The humans would be given one chance to submit to Council authority, or they would be forced to comply. "This is premature," Tom sent back. "My assessment isn't complete. There are inconsistencies in their behavior that need to be investigated." The Council's response was immediate. "Your concerns are noted, but the decision has been made. The fleet launches in 2 days. Continue your observation and report any significant findings." Tom felt his stomach acid churning, a sign of stress in his species. He turned his attention back to the human installation. The workers were now loading different crates, these ones marked with colorful symbols that looked almost playful. He zoomed in closer, pushing his ship's sensors to their limit. "Computer, enhance image and translate text," he ordered. The computer worked for a moment, then displayed its results. "Warning. Translation uncertain. Closest match. Party supplies. Handle with care." Tom blinked all 4 eyes in succession. Party supplies. In a military installation. He checked the reading again, then directed his sensors toward other human bases. Similar crates were being loaded at facilities all around the planet. He wrote in his report, "Humans are preparing for something, but their actions don't match any known military doctrine. They are loading their ships with containers marked as celebration materials. This could be a code, or—" He paused, unsure how to complete that thought. The next day, Tom observed a human ship practicing maneuvers. Instead of running combat drills, they seemed to be practicing precise formation flying at unusually close ranges. Their movements were almost like a dance, maintaining exact distances between ships that would be tactically stupid in any normal combat situation. "Computer, analyze flight patterns," he ordered. "Analysis complete," the computer responded. Movement patterns match delivery and dispersal algorithms, similar to crop dusting or cloud seeding practices observed in developing agricultural societies. Tom felt his facial tentacles curl in confusion. The humans were preparing to fight an advanced alien fleet, and they were practicing farming techniques in space. It had to be a mistake, or did it? He remembered Admiral Bill's smile during the failed first contact. The humans had brought a gift that their sensors had identified as toxic. Was that an accident, or had they been testing something? Tom started a new report but stopped halfway through. How could he explain this to the council? They would never believe that the humans might be planning something so strange it looked like complete nonsense. The fleet would launch tomorrow, and he still had no idea what the humans were really planning. All he knew was that humanity's response to impending invasion was to load their ships with party supplies and practice flying in formation. Either they were completely insane, or they knew something the council didn't. Neither option was comforting. The alien fleet arrived with all the subtlety of a supernova. 500 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their energy shields glowing with power. Each vessel was a masterpiece of advanced technology, armed with weapons that could reduce planets to ash. Tom watched from his observation post as they took up attack positions around Earth. Representative Ray's voice boomed across all communication channels. People of Earth, you have been deemed unfit for galactic civilization. Submit to council authority now, or we will demonstrate what real military power looks like. Tom expected panic. He expected desperate pleas or signs of surrender. Instead, Admiral Bill's voice came back calm and almost cheerful. We appreciate the visit, but we don't accept uninvited guests in our solar system. You have 5 minutes to leave. The alien fleet erupted in laughter. Even Tom had to admit it was absurd. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned. Their ships looked like toys compared to the council fleet. 4 minutes, Bill announced, still sounding like he was inviting someone to coffee. Tom noticed movement. Thousands of small objects were launching from Earth and its moon. His sensors identified them as drones, but they were tiny, barely bigger than a human. What could such small devices do against capital ships? 3 minutes, came Bill's countdown. The drones were arranging themselves in those same strange formations Tom had observed during their practice runs. They moved with perfect precision, forming complex geometric patterns around the alien fleet. 2 minutes. Representative Ray's voice boomed again. Your primitive drones cannot harm our shields. This display is pathetic. 1 minute, Bill responded. Last chance to leave peacefully. The alien fleet responded by charging their weapons. Energy readings spiked across Tom's instruments. This was it. Humanity's last moment as a free species. Time's up, Bill said. Commence Operation Party Time. The drones attacked, but not with lasers or missiles or any weapon Tom recognized. Instead, they sprayed the alien ships with paint. Tom zoomed in his sensors. The drones were firing small balls that burst on impact with the energy shields. Each ball contained some kind of liquid mixed with tiny reflective particles. The alien commanders were laughing, until they realized their shields weren't stopping the paint. The energy barriers, designed to repel plasma and kinetic weapons, couldn't handle the simple liquid. It seeped through, carrying with it millions of glittering particles. What is this foolishness? Ray demanded, but his voice trembled slightly. Tom watched in amazement as the human drones executed their carefully practiced maneuvers. They weren't trying to destroy the alien ships. They were painting them. Layer after layer of colorful paint, mixed with what looked like craft glitter, covered the mighty vessels of the Council fleet. The effects were immediate. The alien ship's advanced sensors, calibrated for detecting energy weapons and missiles, were going haywire. The glitter created millions of false readings. Targeting systems couldn't lock onto anything. Navigation computers were confused by the reflective cloud that now surrounded each ship. Stop this at once, Ray commanded, but now there was real panic in his voice. The human response came not from Admiral Bill this time, but from the radio of every drone. The party's just getting started. A new wave of drones moved in. These ones sprayed a different substance, some kind of foam that expanded on contact with the ship hulls. It got into every crack and crevice, gumming up weapon ports and sensor arrays. The mighty alien fleet was being defeated by party foam and glitter. Tom couldn't believe what he was seeing. The most advanced ships in the galaxy were helpless, their sophisticated technology rendered useless by what appeared to be supplies from a party store. Some ships tried to fire their weapons, but their targeting was so confused by the glitter cloud that they nearly hit their own allies. "This is impossible," Ray shouted. "These are children's toys." "Technically, they're party supplies," Admiral Bill corrected him. "We found out your sensors can't handle glitter during our first contact. Something about the random reflective patterns really messes with your systems. The paint and foam, that was just for fun." Tom watched as the mighty Council fleet began to retreat, their ships covered in colorful paint and sparkling with glitter. They looked less like a military force and more like they had been attacked by enthusiastic children at a birthday party. Humanity had won their first space battle, and they had done it without destroying a single ship or taking a single life. They had turned the aliens' own technological superiority against them, using the one thing the advanced sensors couldn't handle: pure, chaotic fun. Tom couldn't stop watching the recorded footage of the battle. 3 days had passed since the Council fleet's humiliating retreat, and he still struggled to understand exactly how the humans had pulled it off. He needed answers, and surprisingly, the humans were happy to provide them. Admiral Bill had invited him to Earth's main space station for a full briefing. As Tom's shuttle approached, he noticed the station's walls sparkled with leftover glitter from the battle. Some of the human crews were trying to clean it off, but they didn't seem to be having much success. "Welcome to Space Station Freedom," Bill greeted him with that same confident smile. "I believe you have questions." Tom followed the Admiral to a simple meeting room. Through the window, he could see Earth below, beautiful and blue. Dr. Anna, the scientist behind what humans now call the glitter strategy, was waiting for them. "The truth is," Dr. Anna began, "we knew we were in trouble the moment we met the Council. Your technology was centuries ahead of ours. We couldn't possibly win in a traditional battle." She pulled up a hologram showing the alien fleet's energy shields. "But during the first contact, we noticed something interesting. Your sensor systems are incredibly advanced. Too advanced, actually. They're designed to detect and analyze the smallest energy fluctuations, the fastest particle movements, the most subtle radiation changes. Which made them vulnerable to overload," Bill added. "Like trying to look at the sun through a telescope designed for studying distant galaxies." Dr. Anna nodded and changed the hologram to show a single glitter particle. Each of these particles creates hundreds of random light reflections. Multiply that by millions of particles per drone, and thousands of drones. She smiled. "Your targeting computers tried to track every single reflection as a potential threat." Tom's 4 eyes widened in understanding. "The systems crashed from too much data." "Exactly," Bill said. "Your shields were even easier to bypass. They're designed to stop high-energy weapons and fast-moving projectiles. Our paintballs were moving too slowly to trigger the barrier response. It's like throwing a paper airplane at a missile defense system." Dr. Anna brought up another display showing the special foam they had used. "This was my favorite part. The foam expands to 50 times its original size when exposed to vacuum. It's also attracted to the energy signatures your ships give off. The more power you used, the more foam you attracted." "But the party supplies." Tom still couldn't quite believe it. "Why not use real weapons?" Bill laughed. "Because that's what you expected. Every simulation we ran showed we'd lose a direct fight. So we ask ourselves, what's the last thing an advanced alien fleet would prepare for?" "A children's birthday party in space," Tom said, finally understanding the brilliance of it. "Who would think to defend against glitter?" Dr. Anna agreed. "We tested hundreds of materials. Paint, foam, confetti. Anything that could create chaos in your sensors. Glitter worked best because each particle is like a tiny mirror, creating its own light show. Your sensors tried to calculate the trajectory and energy reading of every reflection." Bill pointed out the window at a passing ship. "We spent months practicing the delivery formations. Needed to make sure every ship in your fleet got a good coating. Can't have an uneven paint job, after all." "The Council won't be happy about this," Tom said, but he couldn't help admiring the ingenuity. "The Council," Bill replied, "Needs to understand something important about humans. We don't think like you do. You see a superior force, you build a bigger gun. We see a superior force, we ask ourselves, what's their weird weakness?" Dr. Anna pulled up one final hologram, showing the retreat of the glitter-covered alien fleet. Sometimes the best weapon isn't a weapon at all. Sometimes it's just something so unexpected, so ridiculous, that no one bothers to defend against it. Tom looked at his notes, thinking about his report to the council. How could he explain that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons, but their ability to turn a weakness into an advantage? To look at the most advanced fleet in the galaxy and think, you know what would really mess them up? Party supplies. "I have one last question," Hum said. "How long until the glitter comes off their ships?" Bill and Dr. Anna exchanged looks and started laughing. "Have you ever actually tried to clean up glitter?" Dr. Anna asked. "Those ships will be sparkling for years." Somewhere in the depths of space, the once mighty Council fleet left a trail of glitter behind them, like a path of stars marking their embarrassment for all to see. On board the Council flagship, now decorated in swirling patterns of pink and blue paint, Representative Ray was having the worst day of his political career. His mighty warship, pride of the Galactic Fleet, looked like it had been attacked by a mob of kindergartners with art supplies. The bridge crew worked in embarrassed silence, trying to ignore the way everything sparkled. "Status report," Ray demanded, his scales still showing angry red patterns. "The glitter is everywhere, sir," the sensor officer reported. "It's in the air filters, the computer systems, the weapon ports. Engineering says it's even gotten into their coffee machines." "Then clean it up." Ray slammed his fist on his command chair, and a small cloud of glitter puffed up from the cushion. "We've tried, sir. It only seems to spread it around more. And the paint, it's hardened into some kind of super strong coating. We can't even scratch it off." Through the bridge windows, Ray could see other ships in his fleet suffering similar problems. Some had tried to use their energy weapons to burn off the paint, but that had only made it worse. The heat had somehow made the paint bond permanently to their hulls. Every attempt to use their advanced technology had backfired spectacularly. A communication officer raised his hand nervously. "Sir, we're getting strange readings from the human communication channels." "What now?" Ray growled. They're posting pictures of our ships on something called social media. There's one going viral called Pretty Princess Warship. I think it's us, sir." Ray's scales turned an even deeper shade of red. The humans weren't just defeating them. They were turning them into a galactic laughingstock. His ship, covered in sparkly pink paint, was becoming what humans called a meme. Meanwhile, the fleet's problems were getting worse. Ships were reporting that their advanced AI navigation systems were having mental breakdowns trying to process the random light patterns from the glitter. 3 cruisers had to be towed because their computers became convinced they were inside a disco ball. "Sir," another officer called out, "engineering has more bad news. The foam the humans sprayed, it's growing. And it smells like strawberries." Ray stormed down to engineering, leaving a trail of glitter in his wake. The situation there was even worse. The expanding foam had filled every maintenance shaft, covered every access panel, and was still growing. Worse, it seemed to be attracted to power sources. The more energy they used, the faster it expanded. "Shut down all non-essential systems," Ray ordered. "Minimal power only." But it was too late. The foam had already compromised their main reactor controls. They could either keep the power running and watch the foam continue to expand, or shut down and be stranded in space. And through it all, the endless sparkle of glitter continued to confuse their sensors. Back on the bridge, Ray received reports from across the fleet. Ships were declaring themselves combat ineffective, not because of damage, but because their crews couldn't stop sneezing from all the glitter in the air. Weapon systems refused to fire because their targeting computers had given up trying to make sense of the reflective chaos around them. "Sir, His communications officer said quietly, "We're receiving a message from Earth. They want to know if we'd like to surrender or if we prefer another coat of paint. They suggest purple this time. Apparently it would complement our current color scheme." Ray looked around his bridge, at his mighty warship reduced to a sparkly, strawberry-scented mess. His crew was covered in glitter that would probably take months to wash off. His fleet, the most powerful assembly of ships in the galaxy, had been defeated by party supplies. "Send our response," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. Tell them we're leaving, and we won't be back." As the fleet retreated, their ships twinkling like Christmas ornaments in the darkness of space, Ray realized something that made his scales turn pale. He would have to explain this to the Council. He would have to stand before the galaxy's most powerful leaders and tell them how humanity had defeated their invasion force with glitter, paint, and party foam. Even worse, he knew that somewhere on Earth, humans were already designing T-shirts with pictures of his glitter-covered flagship. His humiliation would live forever in what humans called internet memes. And there wasn't a weapon in the galaxy that could fight that. Tom sat in his quarters aboard the space station, working on his official report to the Council. His desk was sprinkled with glitter. It really did get everywhere, just as the humans had said. He had spent the last week interviewing Earth's military leaders, trying to understand how they had come up with their bizarre but effective strategy. "Computer, begin recording," he said, brushing some sparkles off his notepad. "Official assessment of human military capabilities, addendum to first contact report." He paused, choosing his words carefully. How could he explain what he had learned? The Council had asked him to assess humanity's weapons, their technology, their tactics. But that wasn't what made humans dangerous. Humanity's greatest weapon, he began, is not their technology. It is not their ships, their guns, or even their infamous glitter bombs. Their greatest weapon is their ability to think differently from every other species in the galaxy. He pulled up footage from his interviews, Admiral Bill explaining how they had tested their paint mixture by throwing water balloons at the station's shields. Dr. Anna showing him their early experiments with different types of glitter. A young engineer named Jack demonstrating how they had programmed the delivery drones using old video game controllers. The Council sees humanity as primitive because they solve problems differently, Tom continued. Where we see a wall, we try to build a bigger hammer to break it. Humans look at the same wall and ask why they can't just walk around it, or paint it, or turn it into art. He added footage from Earth's entertainment channels. Humans celebrating their victory with jokes, songs, and something called memes. They had turned a potential invasion into a party, complete with commemorative T-shirts showing glitter-covered alien ships. Their approach to warfare defies our understanding. When faced with superior technology, they didn't try to match it. Instead, they found its weakness in its very complexity. Our sensors couldn't process simple reflected light. Our shields couldn't stop slow-moving paint. Our mighty engines were defeated by expanding foam. Tom remembered his conversation with Dr. Anna about their testing process. They had tried thousands of materials, looking for things that would confuse alien sensors. The answer had been in a craft store, between the birthday cards and party decorations. But what makes humans truly dangerous is not just their unusual thinking. It's their ability to share and build upon each other's ideas. When Admiral Bill joked about using glitter bombs, Dr. Anna didn't dismiss it. She tested it. When the test showed promise, they didn't keep it secret. They asked everyone for input, from military strategists to party planners. He included clips from their planning sessions. Engineers and soldiers sitting alongside artists and party decorators, all contributing ideas. A child's suggestion about making the foam smell like strawberries had actually helped them track how far it spread through enemy ships. The Council sees humanity's openness as primitive, their willingness to try silly ideas, to laugh at themselves, to share information freely. We view these as signs of an immature species. We are wrong. These are the sources of their strength. Tom looked out his window at Earth, spinning peacefully below. Its orbit was now scattered with glitter that would probably sparkle for centuries. My final assessment is this: humanity is the most dangerous species we have ever encountered, precisely because they don't think like us. They turn weaknesses into strengths. They find solutions where we see no possibility. They transform defeat into celebration. He added his last piece of evidence: security footage from the first contact meeting. That knowing smile on Admiral Bill's face when their gift was rejected. They had been testing the Council's sensors even then. I recommend immediate peace negotiations with Earth. Not because we fear their weapons, but because we need their perspective. In all our advancement, we have become predictable. Humanity is anything but. Tom looked down at his desk, at the stubborn glitter that refused to be cleaned away, and added one final note. Also recommend immediate research into glitter-proof sensors. I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of humanity's stupid weapons, and next time, they might bring confetti. He ended the recording and sat back, watching Earth's continents roll by below him. Somewhere down there, humans were probably already planning their next seemingly ridiculous innovation, and that, Tom realized, was exactly why they were so remarkable. They had turned the galaxy's most advanced fleet into a floating disco ball, and they were proud of it. In the end, the stupidest weapon had proved to be the smartest choice. Tom just hoped the Council was wise enough to learn from it. 1 month after the Glitter Fleet incident, as it was now officially known in Council records, Tom stood before the gathered representatives of the galaxy's most powerful species. The Grand Council chamber, usually a place of serious debate, was unusually quiet. Several representatives were trying very hard not to look at the images floating on the main display. Their once mighty warships covered in sparkly pink and blue paint. So, head speaker Max said, his musical tones carrying a note of disbelief, "You recommend not only peace with humanity, but full membership in the Council." "Yes," Tom replied firmly. "And I recommend we do it quickly, before they come up with any more creative solutions to our advanced technology." A ripple of uncomfortable movement passed through the chamber. Representative Joe from the Silicon Collective raised a crystalline appendage. But their gift at first contact was toxic. "Actually," Tom said, pulling up new data, "they were testing our sensors. They knew the paint contained materials we would detect as dangerous. They wanted to see how our scanning technology worked." "They were studying us?" Ray asked, his scales still showing faint traces of glitter despite numerous cleaning attempts. "While we were studying them." "Exactly," Tom nodded. "While we were focused on their primitive ships and basic weapons, they were learning our weaknesses. Every interaction was a test. Every response gave them more data." He showed them footage from Earth's public broadcasts. Humans were already adapting their glitter weapon technology for peaceful uses. They had developed new types of sensor-blocking paint for privacy protection. Their expanding foam was being modified for emergency repairs in space. "But they're so informal," another representative protested. "They turned a military victory into a social media event. They're selling toys based on our defeated ships." "That's precisely why we need them," Tom explained. "Look at this." He displayed a human child's drawing of a Council warship, now decorated with hearts and rainbows. "They took our most advanced weapons and turned them into a joke. Not out of disrespect, but because they see possibilities where we see only power." The Council chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives were outraged at the suggestion of giving Council membership to a species that had defeated them with party supplies. Others were intrigued by humanity's unique approach to problem-solving. "There's one more thing," Tom added, and the room quieted. The humans knew we were watching them prepare. They loaded their ships with party supplies in plain sight. They practiced their maneuvers where we could see them. "Do you know why?" He paused, letting the question sink in. "Because they wanted to give us a chance to realize what they were planning. To understand that we didn't need to fight. They turned our invasion into a party because they would rather make friends than enemies." The main doors of the chamber opened, and Admiral Bill walked in, his uniform still impeccably clean despite the ever-present glitter in the air. Behind him, Dr. Anna carried a large container. Speaking of making friends, Bill said with his characteristic smile, "We brought a peace offering." The council representatives leaned forward, then collectively moved back as Dr. Anna opened the container. Inside was a cake, decorated with edible glitter. "Don't worry," she said, noting their concern. "We tested it. This glitter is completely digestible by all known species, though it might make your insides sparkle for a few days." Tom watched as, one by one, the council representatives began to laugh. The absurdity of it all. The glitter weapons, the painted ships, and now a sparkly peace cake, had finally broken through their formal facades. "Very well," head speaker Max declared, his own translator barely containing his amusement. "Earth is granted full membership in the Galactic Council, though I suggest we update our military defense protocols to include party supply detection." As the chamber filled with laughter and conversation, Tom watched the humans sharing their cake with former enemies. Somewhere in the galaxy, a fleet of warships was still sparkling like disco balls, a permanent reminder that sometimes the stupidest-looking solution was the smartest choice. And if anyone noticed that the cake frosting contained a new type of color-changing glitter that would make everyone's teeth sparkle for the next week, well, that was just humanity's way of keeping things interesting.